Hey everybody, it's Joseph Conyers, aka Weatherclap, and welcome to Play Me an Excerpt, a platform where musicians like you can play an excerpt for a professional like me. I created this show to help demystify the audition process, hopefully making your next audition a success. Orchestra auditions, they just don't happen every day, but now playing for an expert is only a hashtag away. So let's get started. Next up, we have Davi. Davi, double bass player from Sao Paolo, Brazil. Davi, play me an excerpt. Awesome, Davi. So great to hear you play. So Davi was a student of mine at Temple University. We actually met in Sao Paolo, Brazil, or actually very near Sao Paolo, Brazil. He was a member of the Illumina Festival, a fantastic festival down in Sao Paolo, and that's where Davi and I met for the first time. He went on to study with me for a bit to get his master's at Temple University. So it's great to see Davi again. He's back home in Brazil. So Davi, a few things to talk about. I love your consistency throughout. That's all great. But one of the things I'm going to talk to you about is something we talked about when we were in school, and that's a little bit of the energy. There are two ways to think about energy in this. One is in the energy in the story we're telling, but is the energy of the excerpt itself. This is the development section of this third symphony. Actually, as I have said in another YouTube video, this is actually his last symphony. The numbering for the Mendelssohn symphonies are off. And if you've ever wondered that, I know I wondered that when I was in school. I was like, this piece always sounds so mature. It always sounds so different than, for example, Mendelssohn 5, which sounds a lot lighter and less intense. So with that in mind, we know Mendelssohn was a genius writer. He really was a genius writer, and he liked to flex his compositional muscles. And the way that I like to say Mozart did, but in the way Mendelssohn did it was always, I don't know if he did it on purpose. Mendelssohn flexes muscles in a compositional way, in his counterpoint writing that I think is almost uniquely Mendelssohn, and it really manifests itself in a piece like this. So again, this is development section, the part of the piece where there's the most conflict, because we're trying to figure out what key we're going to end up in. So for that reason, when I was talking about energy, I want also energy in the tempo. I feel like the tempo you took is a little slow. So if I was behind the screen, I would be like, has he heard this one? How familiar is he with this piece? So that's something I would think about trying to do right away. It's just up the tempo, because then it'll take all the great elements of your playing now and just make them that much more sparkly. Because what can happen if it's too slow, it just starts to lose that energy and it doesn't quite sound like Mendelssohn. At least to me, it doesn't have that kind of youthful exuberance. So that's something I want to talk about right away. In bar 240, when where the hairpins begin, I could use more of that. You do them, I hear them, but they aren't even going up and even coming down. So that's one. Two, starting bar 241, there's a crescendo that goes to forte. So it should be, even with the hairpins, be getting louder the whole time. That's until we land in bar at the F sharp in bar 45, 46, 47, 247. About that, When you get to these E flats, we have the accents. Now, we don't want to play them quite like Rachmaninoff, like dee, dee, dee. We do have the accents, so we do want to have this classical D, 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 with maybe a little bit of daylight, as our friends, I heard it a lot when I was in England. A little daylight between each note with the accent. Direction and left hand. Why is your left hand off? It was like someone turned it off and like D, D, D. No, give us some warmth and then take us to that F sharp that can then be a sforzando and only an eighth note. So D, 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 dum, surprise. I think that would go a long way. 249, it's piano, but again, we're in the development section. So this D, B, pa. You notice I'm going pa. I'm getting a little, I know there's no accent. You say, well, there's no accent. Well, technically, it's almost like a syncopation only because it comes on B2. So 1, da, B, D. So it almost acts like a syncopation because it's on the offbeat. Because of that, we want to make sure it's super clear. And then if we can phrase away, that would give that a lot of pizzazz. Da, B, ba, with the crescendo. And then we get to the B flats. The B flats are, that's bar 2, 3, 4, 5, 255. Da, 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 da. Make sure the stroke doesn't get too labored. I would just try to make sure it's a nice arm spiccato is what I call it. Dee, 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 dee. I feel like you're trying to keep it a little on so it sounds a little like you're working toward da, 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 dee, da, 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 da. And then get a sforzando again on that note on the C sharp. Perfect. Then we have our melody that comes in bar 260. Da da ya da da. I can use way more of the hairpins here because it's such melodic material in what's going on in the counterpoint of the piece. Da dee da dee da da. At G, there's a crescendo, and it keeps going for 2 bars until we get to the forte on that D flat. So the crescendo should go through that D, da da da, D da da da, B, and then a sforzando. All these details. That's sforzando in bar 266. So make sure we really nail that. Then we have this so I think that in bar 268, those 2 eighth notes at the end of the bar, they don't belong to bar 268, they belong to bar 269. So what I mean by that is da 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 and then da 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 because that's the thematic material. Da 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 da. So da 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 da. If we can show that, I think it goes a long way in making the counterpoint super clear for both the person behind the screen, but imagine the whole orchestra doing that with that kind of clarity and a counterpoint just hops off the page. Bar 271, this is a big deal, Davi, this is a big deal. It goes to forte only. It's only forte. And he drops this da 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 da. It's so exciting. We want to be playing with so much passion here, but if we give it all away, we can't show the crescendo to the fortissimo that comes a few bars later. So it's forte only, da 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 da, più forte da 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 da. And our music director in Philadelphia, più forte, I think for Beethoven, he says it's like a crescendo. Whether you believe it's a crescendo or it's just louder, either way, it should definitely be louder at the più forte, with the arrival point being in bar 277. Dum, ba-ga-dum, 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 ba-ga-dum. So, and I love the way you phrased that. You did that was fantastic. Dum, da-ga-dum, 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 da-ga-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Because the music must have that kind of shape. That was fantastic. That said, I've at least one thought. Because of your tempo, the dum, da-ga-dum, da-ga-dum sound a little labored. It is a little typical for this to be slightly stylized. Notice I said slightly. So what I mean by stylized, it won't be da da-ga-da, 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 da-ga-da. I think you're already doing it slightly stylized. So a slightly stylized way of doing this would be making sure that the dee, da-ga-dum, da-ga-da, it was not da, da-ga-da, da-ga-da, because that's honest. But ding, da-ga-dum, 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 so it's more of a gesture than it is this metronomic thing that you have to play that's exactly on the page. Again, it's slight, but that's just something to think about and something you can get more away with at a faster tempo, because I think that will help that as well. And the last thing, there was a second thing. Make sure we're even Steven. So no matter where we are on the bow, dee, tickety, 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 it sounds the same. Those 2 6 notes sound the same, and the long notes sound the same, no matter where we are on the bow. That's really, really important to think about because it's very easy to not make that even. Love the phrasing. And then 290, when you get to the sequence, dee, digga-da, 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 make sure it doesn't run away. Just to make sure that stays in the pocket. But you've heard enough of me talking. I've been talking a lot, Davi. It's because it's great music. I get super excited about hearing this music. So, Davi, let's listen. I'm going to go back and listen to, now that we've had extensive discussion about the excerpt, and let's listen to some of your playing, and maybe we can point some of these things out as you're playing. Let's see what we have. Oh, that reminds me. So, and not because you're doing it badly, but you're actually doing it pretty well. But something I want to bring out for anyone who's playing this excerpt. The trick with this is not to end up in the back part of the bow. Davi, you're actually doing a good job. It's great, but this is for others. And as you go along, Davi, it might help to think about some of this sometimes, is when you go da-dee-da. If you use all your bow, because, I don't know, your great-grandmother paid for it and it's worth $80 billion. So you want to use all of it, right? Because it costs a lot of money. But if you do that, you're going to end up in a terrible part of the bow to play those 3/8 notes that come after. So da-da-da-dee-da, it puts you in a horrible part of the bow. So I would do everything I can to conserve bow on those opening notes. Da-da-dee-da-da-da-da-dee-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. We want to be able to move the bow enough to get the notes to speak, particularly when they're that low. But at the same time, we just don't want to end up in a bad part of the bow, and that's just something we can practice. I just wanted to make sure I got that off my chest because I was thinking about it. All right, here we go. And then back off, back off. Okay, crescendo, wiggle, crescendo, and then short. That should be short with a ring. A little accent. Crescendo. Just watch the stroke here. Crescendo. Good. And so Davi, when you play these short notes, make sure we don't go but home. Always every note a gem. Every note a gem. Not like every note in the gem. Every note a gem. Like that. That kind of gem. Not this kind of gem. But every note home. Rich sforzando with a nice ring. We don't make sure we want to we don't want to whack that. And crescendo, sforzando. Good. So for something like this, I wouldn't want to take away the energy. I'm in bar 260. So G, 2, 3, 4, fifth bar G. When you get to those B flats, I don't want to back off so soon because it is an arrival. I might do I call it a little Hollywood. So there's always kind of some kind of ebb and flow. Again, we don't want to go too Hollywood. We got to reserve Hollywood for Hollywood. This is, in fact, Mendelssohn, but a little and then a crescendo with that melodic figure that we talked about before. And watch these sforzandi. It'll be great to hear them, Davi. Forte only, back off. Sforzando. Più forte. Sforzando, and then fortissimo. Yes! Great phrasing. Good. Something else that will help for this fa, mi, re, mi, fa. Make sure we have our bow. I call this a scrub-it-up stroke, so that the fa, mi, re, mi, fa, those 2 60 notes really do speak. I feel like sometimes you don't have all the weight in the bow, so they don't speak as clearly as they could. And you, again, it's all fortissimo, so it's all loud. So it's very tempting to want to just play it all loud, but we still have to phrase and shape because it is music and it's really great writing. So this D, digga-dum, digga-dum, dum, 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 digga-dum, digga-dum, dum, 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 diggity, diggity. So you see how I phrased off, so then the next fortissimo can actually sound like a fortissimo and have that come out. Back off. The crescendo, sforzando, with a forte piano. Well, Davi, it was really great to hear you play. The excerpt sounds spectacular, and I know as you continue to work on it, you will only blow people away. Hello everyone, thank you so much for watching. Y'all have been such a great audience and so loyal. We have now over 2,000 subscribers to the channel. Thank you so much. We love your input and we want to make this the best experience for you as possible because this is all for you. So be sure to write in the comments and let us know if there's something else you want to see, something else that you think we can do. Also, be sure to hit that like button. It's always nice to get that little extra boost of confidence. And if you feel so inclined, share this with a friend. Share this with someone else who might get something else from out of this. I think what's important about Play Me an Excerpt is not about my instrument. It's about how we make music together in different ways and different approaches that we can all take from maybe pieces of music that we've heard a million times on our own instrument. So I hope it's enlightening for all of you in this way. If you want to play me an excerpt, the details are in the description below. If you haven't already, be sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel. Davi, thank you so much for joining us on Play Me an Excerpt. Thank you all for watching and see you for the next episode of Play Me an Excerpt.